can speak now to Edward Ahmed Mitchell, who's a National Deputy Executive Director of the Council on American-Islamic Relations, and he kindly joins me live from Washington, D.C. I appreciate you taking the time, sir. We've just had a report there on the starvation that's being employed, and it's pretty widely accepted, I think, now that this is what Israel is doing. It is weaponizing starvation. It's not letting any aid in, certainly not any food, and it doesn't have any explanation as to why that is the case. Where have we got to in terms of mankind now, our sense of humanity, that we are, as a world, allowing this to happen, and there don't seem to be any repercussions for Israel? Is there not international law that governs this?
Let's be frank, international law is dead. It does not exist because if a country can get away with starving 2 million people to death while the world watches in violation of every basic principle of international law, then there is no international law, especially as far as Western nations are concerned. Mr. Netanyahu is openly starving the entire population of Gaza, as well as the Israeli hostages still held in Gaza. And he's doing this for political reasons. He is a truly evil man who should be mentioned alongside some of the worst war criminals of the past century. And it's long past time for not only Western nations that claim to support human rights, but Muslim nations, especially in the Arab world, to stand up and stop this madness that we're watching unfold.
And I mean, you explained there that really there isn't international law anymore in effect. And the discrepancy between international law, or the lack of it, and what we are used to in our day-to-day lives, law within our own countries, is remarkable. For example, let's look at the US role in all of this. If you were supplying a weapon to somebody who carried out a crime, you'd be found guilty of some kind of offence. If you were encouraging that person, as Donald Trump has done to Israel, encouraging them to remove Palestinians from Gaza, if you did that and somebody carried out some kind of crime, you were encouraging them, you would be found guilty of some kind of offence. There's nothing to find the US, it seems, legally responsible for. Is it just going to be the court of public opinion that they will have to stand in front of?
Well, more than that, even if something like this were happening outside of the United States or outside of Europe to a population of blonde-haired, blue-eyed, white children and families, there would be international uproar because this is ultimately about anti-Palestinian racism. There is just utter indifference in the capitals of many Western nations to the suffering of Black, brown, and Muslim people. They would much rather let these people starve to death than confront the Israeli government. So sadly, look, again, international law is dead. And now it's up to people who care about justice and humanity, who believe in and fear God, to do something to stop the Israeli government. Because clearly, Western nations are going to do it. Clearly, the Israeli government is not going to stop itself. And so there has to be a radical rethink of what must be done to put pressure on this government to stop it. And that starts with the surrounding Arab Muslim nations. This would not be happening if they did something drastic to stop it. So it's really time for them and others to think outside the box and take drastic action at every international forum and every economic tool they have to stop this madness.
I cling to the belief that the hope that people around the world are fundamentally the same in terms of their needs, desires, and the sense of right and wrong. And we've seen protests globally against what's happening in Gaza. But what about the people within Israel? Because public opinion seems to be predominantly in favour of the Israeli military's actions. Now, the people of Israel must see that there are lots of innocent women and children dying. Can you understand how it is they are still in favour of that happening and more death?
Look, sadly, public polling in Israel shows that a majority of Israeli citizens support the Israeli government's genocidal war on the people of Gaza. They support this blockade of humanitarian aid, food, water to the people of Gaza. Now, not all Israelis. There are a minority of Israelis who have spoken out against this, who try to protest, and they've been brutalized. They've been beaten by the Israeli police. They've been smeared as Jewish in name only. They've been threatened with arrest. And so the fact is the Israeli government not only wants to suppress free speech in America, they suppress free speech in their own country because they do not and cannot tolerate any dissent. As small as that dissent is within the Israeli nation, the Israeli government cannot even tolerate that. So again, I'm not counting on that minority of Israeli activists and people to be able to stop this government. It's really going to have to be the people of the world who have a conscience coming together, whether they're Arab, Muslim, Christian, atheist, Jewish, Israeli, coming together and saying, what can we do to take drastic action to stop Netanyahu and his government? Because Western nations clearly are not willing to do what needs to be done to stop him.
Edward, good to speak to you. Thanks for your time. Edward Ahmed Mitchell from the Council on American-Islamic Relations, my guest.